Welcome back to the Afinida Insurance video podcast. We are excited to talk today to two of our experts in the insurance space, particularly around car insurance. We have Alyssa Wilcox and Kimberly Morales, and we're going to jump right into all things auto insurance. So, Kim, I'm actually going to pose the first question to you. What is the difference between comp and collision coverage, and why should anybody care about those things?
Well, you should definitely care about both because both of them are pertaining to taking care of your vehicle. So, anytime you are in a car accident, if you are at fault and there's damage to your vehicle, most of the time that's going to be collision. It just depends on what happens. But if you collide into anything while you are moving, that is mostly going to be collision. There are a few exceptions, but collision is colliding into an object, another vehicle. The object could be stationary. It just depends on what's happening. But if you really want to know what your circumstances, the best thing is to um, get a consultation. Go with your agent and ask them, tell them what's going on, this and that. They'll tell you. But your collision coverage is going to cover your coverage to go ahead and take care of your vehicle. So minus your deductible. Your deductible can be $250, $500, $1,000. So whatever it costs to fix your vehicle, get it back to the state that you had, that's what your insurance will pay minus your deductible. Comprehensive is now going to be something that what some agents refer to an act of God. So something that is out of your control, a hail, flood, tornado, that sort of thing. A tree falls on your car. Even like a deer, if it runs in front of you and it hits you, it's something that's out of your control. And in most cases, these claims don't really affect your rates, but it all just does come down to depending on how much the damage is and that what happened in the situation.
Alyssa, I got the next one for you. Do
Okay.
I need more than the state minimum coverage of the state that I'm living in, that I'm like a citizen, I'm a resident of that state? Do I need more than that, or is the minimum good enough?
Well, I would say yes, you probably need more than the state minimums. Those minimums are there as just like the bare bones to cover you in the case of in the event that you're in an accident. But let's face it, costs are rising across the board. Medical costs especially are on the rise. So if you're in an accident and you only have the state minimums of, say, $15,000 and you are in a horrible accident, you will likely not have enough coverage. So we recommend going with increased limits. Often it's pretty affordable to get additional liability limits. I think the best place to start for auto would be 250,000 with 500,000 aggregate, just so you're well covered, because God forbid you're in an accident, you don't want to lose your home or other assets because of it. So I think it's worth the small cost to increase your limits.
All right, Kim, if my car breaks down, will my auto insurance carrier cover the rental car that I need to get around?
It will not. So if your car breaks down that was due to maintenance, sometimes it's maintenance that you started hearing and you're like, oh, I'll put it off, and then you didn't do anything, and there goes your radiator. That's not going to cover that. What will cover is roadside. So if you need a tow, roadside will come out, they'll pick up your car and bring it to either the closest tire shop or mechanic shop, or even to your home if you need some time to kind of figure out where you're going to take it. Roadside will come out and pull your car, or if you need a jump start, that sort of thing. But as far as giving you a car rental for maintenance issues, no.
So the moral of the story here is do your maintenance.
Yeah. I will add to that, though, if you are in an accident and you have rental car coverage, the carrier will provide a rental car while your vehicle is being repaired. So that would be a covered loss where the rental car coverage would kick in as long as you have it on your policy.
So, question that kind of crosses over between homeowners and car, Alyssa. So, my car's in my garage and my house is on fire, or some kind of major damage happens to my garage, my car's in it, my car is damaged because of the home damage. How does that all kind of flush out?
Well, I would think that, so your homeowners is never going to cover your car. That's what you have auto insurance for. When we get your policy, we have to provide your garaging address. So the carrier knows that this is your home, this is where you live. And if there is a fire in your home where your auto is damaged, your auto insurance will kick in. That garaging address is there. It's a covered location. So you're covered, but you do need to maintain that auto insurance.
So, Kim, what if I get into maybe the worst thing that can happen? One of the worst things that can happen to you in your car, a hit and run. I get involved in one, somebody slams into me, hitting me in the back, and then they just drive off, whatever the situation is, but a hit and run. How does that work with my insurance?
Well, it's one of the most important coverages, and depending on your state, it might be one coverage or it might be two coverages, but it's called uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist. So what that means is you got hit by somebody who did not have insurance, did not have enough insurance to cover your damages, or you just couldn't get their information. You know, they ran off and now you're stuck with a bill. So here, your insurance will still pay out damages to your vehicle if you have the collision on there, because collision will cover your car. You'll pay your deductible. Uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists will now cover medical, damages, anything that's like loss of wages, you had to do maybe some therapy, go to the chiropractor, anything like that. That's what they'll step in and cover for you now, because there is no other insurance company to pay for you. But it is an optional coverage, so you have to make sure that you add that on there. By someone just telling you you have full coverage does not mean that you have uninsured motorists or underinsured motorists.
Don't believe the full coverage myth.
Exactly.
And also, if you are the person in the hit and run accident and you are at fault and you're negligent, you do not have coverage. So once you become negligent in an incident, that negates your insurance. Like leaving the scene of a crime is not going to relate to your being covered.
We're not going to reward your crime.
No.
No.
Okay, so what about when I rent a car, Alyssa? So I am in a different state, I'm in a different place, all of that. I flew somewhere on vacation, I rented a car for the week. Does my normal car insurance cover me on an individual level, or how does that work?
It does. And I think that there are a lot of nuances to this. So it's a good thing to review with your insurance carrier, especially if you are going outside of the state. And also look at the rental agreement to what they require of you. But when I travel, I feel comfortable using my personal auto insurance to cover vehicles that I rent. Again, I think it's important to make sure that you have the high enough limits to cover the vehicle, because here this is not your car. So if you get in a little fender bender, you may not care if you repair the vehicle, but the rental car company is going to have those standards, and they're going to want to make sure that the vehicle that you're renting is covered and is repaired. So if you do rely on your own auto insurance, again, I recommend that you check with your carrier, with your agent, make sure it's covered, and then also make sure that you have adequate limits to cover the vehicle. Kim might have some more experience with this as well, given her expertise.
There is some endorsements that you can add, because a lot of people just think, oh, I'll just give them my insurance card and that'll be it. But there are some companies where, excuse me, if you tell them that you're going to be renting a car, they will give you optional coverages to add on, especially if you do have a car accident and there is a total loss. The rental car company is going to want to charge you for the days that their car either is in the works of getting replaced or has to go into repairs. They're going to want to still charge you for those days of use. With those endorsements, that helps so that your insurance will pay that instead of you.
So Kim, I have a question on filing claims. So from a timing standpoint? I think it's pretty obvious if you get in like a really major accident, it's like, of course, I've got to file a claim because my car is probably totaled or it's undrivable or whatever the situation is. But if you get into a small accident or you have small damage from like a storm, like you mentioned, it's not crazy. You can still drive the car, things like that. What kind of advice do you have people around the timing of when they file that? I can see people maybe thinking, "Oh, I don't really need to file it quite yet. I can get to that when I, whatever." What are your thoughts around that?
Well, I think it's definitely important to notify your agent as soon as possible. But I mean, if you were just in a storm and you got to take care of more major things first, you definitely do have a bit of time. What I would suggest is um, taking notes, taking pictures, everything, anything that can be time stamped. Turn on your location to your phone and it'll mark on there where you were at what time, and just take pictures of when the incident happened. And then once you get a little bit of a break, everything that was urgent is taken care of, you can come back and talk to your insurance agent. Also, I mean, I think it also depends on the type of damage that you have, because let's just say, you know, the wind maybe did knock a tree down, but it wasn't close enough to where it really damaged your car enough. It just like knocked off the rearview mirror. At that point, you also want to think about how much the cost of just that piece is versus actually doing a claim. Because if your
Right.
deductible is $500, you have to pay $500 to open that
Yeah.
claim. When that rear view mirror might be, let's just say like 600, you're going to only get $100 back. And at
Mm.
that point, it's not, I mean, if you can afford it, go ahead and fix it. And if you really can't afford it, then do a claim, because you also have to remember that those sometimes claims can affect your rates. But
Mm.
you definitely do have a bit of time, as long as you go ahead and notate and make sure that you have pictures and evidence of what has happened to your vehicle.
Okay, Alyssa, this is a pretty specific question, but I think it's one that you guys deal with enough where it's worth talking about. Will my insurance cover a total loss on a salvage title vehicle?
So, Kim might have more experience with this, but my understanding is that a salvage title is something that we cannot get comp or collision coverage for. So, essentially, a good example would be that if your vehicle is deemed a total loss by the carrier, they will make it a salvage title. You can still keep the car and you can still do the repairs and you can drive it, but as a salvage title, it's not an insurable item. So that is, the carrier wouldn't cover it. Kim, did I get that right?
It boils down to the carrier, because
Mhm.
there are some carriers who will allow it, but they will only cover up to 80% of the value of the vehicle. So if it's a
Mm.
rebuild, reconstruction, salvage, a lot of people think that just because it's worded differently, they might have a better chance. But regardless of what it is, if it is not a clean title, there are some companies who will accept it. Might be a little bit more pricey depending on what kind of coverage you want, but they will allow comp and collision. And then if there is a loss, they'll cover at 80%. But it does come down to which carrier. So that's a question to definitely ask your agent and verify before you finalize anything.
Kim, I'm in an accident. It's significant. Like, I'm definitely gonna file a claim. Like, there's enough damage here. Like, I'm not gonna go try to repair this myself. What are like the first like 1 to 2 steps that are really important, and maybe sometimes things people forget about? And like, you're in the heat of the moment, like maybe you're really upset about what happened, or it was scary, or whatever. Like, a lot of emotions can run high when in a car accident, obviously. What do people kind of try to need to keep in mind to kind of keep a level head and like kind of some next steps to make the insurance process easier?
Yes. So that has gotten a little bit easier now in this day and time where everybody, even your kids, sometimes have phones. So my first thing is, before you get out of the car, turn on your phone, turn on that video camera before you
Hmm.
have any interaction with anybody. Make sure that you are okay, that you don't have any injuries, that all your arms and legs can move, check your passengers. And once that's clear, keep the phone on, put it in your pocket. At least the audio is on. Once you're out, bring out your phone. Everything that you're doing, do a whole 360 around your car. Make sure you go slow because we do need to see everything. If you can take pictures while you're recording at the same time, go ahead and do it. And then from there, you want to see who the other person is, make sure that if you guys can communicate with each other, have that conversation. Are they okay? Are you okay? And then from there, get each other's information. Once that's done, my suggestion would be to file a police report. In some cases, the police may not come out to you, depends on how urgent it is and the location, because sometimes if an accident happens in a parking lot, they'll say it's private property and they can't come out. But
Mhm.
at least by having that call log on your phone that you called the police department, you
Mm.
have also another timestamp, an attempt that
Yep.
you tried to do something. Once you have all your information, don't move any vehicles until you have pictures and all of that. Once all of that has been taken care of, you can call the insurance company. They'll have a tow truck come out, move vehicles if they need to, or if your vehicle can drive, you can pull it off to the side so it's out of traffic. You guys are in a safe place. And then from there, you can also speak with an agent and they can tell you step by step what to do, because in the moment, and I have been there, you do not remember every single step. But if
Hmm.
you call, once you've at least taken care of those first like 3 steps, they can go ahead and direct you from there.
Yeah, I would add too that if someone does like pull over at the accident, get their witness contact information, have them make a
Mm.
statement, because
Yeah.
that is another important key that can help you defend, show who's at fault.
Okay, last one. I'm going to give it to Alyssa. What is gap insurance and why do you need it?
Yeah, gap insurance, for those folks who either lease or have a loan out on their car. The minute you drive off the auto lot, your car depreciates in value, but your loan stays the same. So this gap coverage protects you against that difference in the value of your car versus the loan that is outstanding. So if you have a total accident in your auto, and let's say you owe 15,000 on your car, but your vehicle's only valued at 10,000, that gap coverage will help to pay off that loan so that you don't have to go out of pocket for a vehicle you had a total loss on.
Got it. Super important for if you have any kind of loan on a vehicle then.
And you
Yeah.
should ask your agent if they are providing that, because not all insurance
Okay.
carriers provide it. So sometimes you have to go directly through the dealer.
Good. Well, thank y'all so much for joining me. This has been really, really helpful, and we hope that it's really helped you as well. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of our Asked and Answered series. Stay tuned for next month, where we'll get into some more insurance topics.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.